Let's kick it off. Welcome to a very special collaborative AI apps roundtable, and a whole new way of work that is here. Just want to take a moment to say this is one of those summers I think we will all look back on and say we were up to this, or like we were involved in different things when the big AI shift happened. And the key word here is mission critical. um, it is imperative for us to think about modernizing our applications with AI. We're probably only a few quarters away from AI powered apps being the baseline, where we're all going to be admirers or creators or consumers of applications, all of which is going to have some element of AI in it, which makes it even more critical for businesses who use Microsoft Teams as the hub for collaboration and teamwork, to have it powered in ways that will boost productivity and unleash all types of innovation. Now, we as a product team, we're already looking into this, and we're already investing in many ways to elevate the experience of teams. But we're also today we're going to focus on apps specifically, where we want to talk about how you can infuse AI into the applications that you use inside of Teams. And these could be apps that you have built as custom apps for your organization that you use in Teams. Or we're also going to explore and see how we have a range of ready to use, enterprise grade applications inside of Teams, which are also AI powered today. When we say infuse AI into your Teams apps, there are really three ways, three broad categories that we're looking at right now. One is using the power of Azure OpenAI, where you're able to create these applications in a very secure manner. And the next thing that we are really proud to show today is the Teams AI library, where we've got this easy, quick to realize value way in which you can build AI powered applications on Teams, or upgrade your existing applications that you have on Teams and make it AI powered. The third pillar is Copilot plugins, but just as a disclaimer, we're not going to focus on that today. Today's focus is going to be about how you can bring the power of AI to your application. So our first segment is going to be looking at Azure OpenAI, and really give you a walkthrough of what this Teams AI library is all about. We will definitely give you walkthroughs of custom applications and scenarios in which a Teams AI library can come to life within your organizations. And of course, walk the talk by actually showing you apps that are available today inside of Teams that have used all these technologies that we're going to show over the course of the next hour or so. That being said, I would love to welcome Sonam. So if you're on the call, feel free to come on camera and say hello to us. Sonam's going to give us a bit of a quick rundown on what Azure OpenAI is, and what's in store for all of you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Harish, for setting the context. Very good morning, everybody. Happy to have you here. And as part of my talk track, I'm going to walk you through a very brief overview of Azure OpenAI, and probably we'll then naturally move into how this experience is embedded into M365, that is Teams, right? So before even going to Azure OpenAI, I think it is very imperative to have a quick walkthrough of the Azure Applied AI and Cognitive Services, right? Because with the advent of OpenAI, I think people are forgetting that we also have a suite of AI and cognitive services which used to cater to a range of use cases even before OpenAI came in. The reason is that AI is harder to implement than expected. And there is a need to orchestrate multiple models, customize specific scenario-specific models, connect with various data sources and apps. And hence, Microsoft introduced the Azure Applied AI Services. So Azure AI is nothing but a collection of AI services offered by Microsoft as part of the Azure Cloud Platform. The AI services are designed to make it easier for developers and organizations to add AI capabilities into their applications without the need for extensive expertise in the field of AI. And they help you build the solutions faster, reduce your development time from months to days, if I may say so, for common business scenarios that we have seen customers repeatedly build from scratch. So these Azure applied AI services that you see on the screen are built on top of the cognitive services with additional task-specific AI models and business logic to solve common problems that organizations encounter regardless of the industry. So some of the examples are video analyzer, which is used to extract the in-depth metadata from video and audio, bot framework, form recognizer as an OCR service, cognitive search, which is these days widely used along with Azure OpenAI to extract knowledge from vast knowledge bases, right? And the cognitive services that you see at the bottom, they are built with Azure machine learning, and they offer your developers the most comprehensive set of domain-specific pre-trained models. So we have nearly 30 pre-trained models across vision, speech, language, decision making, which are all based on breakthrough research by Microsoft. Of course, the newest addition to the cognitive family is the Azure OpenAI service, which we'll talk about shortly. Azure Machine Learning, it is something that provides your data scientists and developers a platform to build, train, and deploy models, even custom models, right? But today we'll focus on how this AI experience is embedded into M365 and Teams is part of M365, right? Moving on.
So when you say when you say custom model, what kind of model we're talking about? Can you deploy a SaaS model on this?
Yes. So if you have any model that you have built or trained internally, you can use the endpoints of Azure Machine Learning to host these models. So either you can build the models using Azure Machine Learning, or if you have already built models, you can also host them on AML platform.
So when you say machine learning, do you have your own proprietary AI algorithms? Or say, for example, Python has it, or R has it, or SAS has, SPSS has. Do you have something like that? Or it's just a machine environment where you can develop your own advanced predictive models?
See, one thing to note is that AML is built on top of open source foundation. So developers can choose the Python tool or the process of their choice to even get started on their laptops. They also have the freedom to use ML flow if they would like, right? So from a code first experience to a drag and drop to automated machine learning, where developers are not really required to have any ML knowledge, no matter how models are built, they are stored and managed in a central registry.
Okay.
Thanks, Naresh. Naresh, feel free to use the chat as well to keep the conversation going on the side while we go to the presentation. But thank you for the question.
Sure, yeah. Thanks.
Thanks.
Sure. Can we move to the next slide, on the slide on OpenAI, please? Great, thank you. Not this one, the previous one, Harish.
Sorry, my bad.
Great. So here we come to OpenAI class of products, right? I think a quick recap for all of you. We have the GPT-3 family of models, which is about generating and understanding text, that is natural language. We have Codex, which is about generating and understanding code, and DALI, which is about generating text. And ChatGPT is nothing but a version of GPT 3.5, which is fine-tuned for chat conversations. So some of the most basic questions we get from customers is that, how is ChatGPT and GPT different? So just think of ChatGPT as an app and GPT-3 as the brain behind that app. So while ChatGPT is like a web app that you can access on your browser, which is designed specifically for chatbot applications and optimized for dialogue, it relies on GPT-3 to produce the text or something like explaining the code or even writing poems. So GPT-3, on the other hand, is a language model. It is not an app. So while GPT-3, Codex models, ChatGPT, and now even GPT-4 have been GA as part of Azure OpenAI suite for some time now. DALI is something which is in private preview as we speak, and it is expected soon in a couple of months. So these large generative AI models with deep understanding of natural language and code can be used for a variety of use cases, including writing assistance, code generation, reasoning over data for inferencing and comprehension, right? That being said, we see most of the customers talk about GPT-3 these days and GPT-4, of course, because that is what ChatGPT basically unlocked. And if any of you have ever tried ChatGPT on the web, and you found it amazing, then imagine what it would be like to embed it within your own applications and experiences and to be able to customize it with your own data, right? So this exclusive handshake that Microsoft and OpenAI has, it enables Microsoft to access the endless possibilities or the models that OpenAI has got to offer, and plus all the goodness of Azure on top of that, which is the Azure enterprise level security, compliance, regional availability, SLA, etc. So Azure OpenAI service allows you to use these supported OpenAI models either as is or adapt and customize the AI models to meet your specifications with label data for your specific scenario using a simple REST API or using the model's hyperparameters to adjust the tone of the output. And most importantly, your use of Azure OpenAI service incorporates Microsoft's responsible AI approach that I will be talking about, including filtering and moderating the content of the user's requests and responses to ensure that the coding and language AI models are being used only for their intended purposes. We'll also talk about the security guardrails around Azure OpenAI shortly. A quick glimpse of how customers are using OpenAI today. So based on our work with the customers on Azure OpenAI, we find four capabilities that seem to stand out: content generation, summarization, code generation, and semantic search. So content generation has sparked a lot of interest among those who want to be able to automate responses to customers or generate personalized UI for their company's website, or with recruitment firms who probably want to be able to generate content for bringing in their ideal applicants. The second popular capability of Azure OpenAI has been summarization. So there is so much goodness here for the call center analytics scenarios where companies would want to summarize the conversation logs or to be able to summarize long and tedious reports or probably tons of analyst articles. Social media trend summarization is another use case that is important for quite a few companies across industries to know what their customers are heading towards and what their industry is tending towards. Code generation. So this is a third popular capability. Think of wanting to convert your SQL to natural language or vice versa. Code generation is a very powerful capability that can help to convert your code as well as generate text and source code for use in your application. Last but not the least, we have semantic search with Azure OpenAI. It'll essentially help quicken the time to search through documents. So in addition to these, we also have some examples of multiple model use cases that are very popular. So think of the end-to-end call center analytics scenarios that includes everything: classification, sentiment analysis, entity extraction, summarization, email generation, and everything. So this includes an entire end-to-end call center analytics scenarios. Then there are further use cases where we talk about customer 360 degrees, where hyper-personalization is of importance, or we talk about business process automation like document automation, where we use OpenAI combined with search, etc. Right? So these are some of the most trending use cases we see around Azure OpenAI. Moving on, I think there has been a recent consolidation of a lot of Azure AI models, Azure OpenAI models. We have announced the expansion of GPT 3.5 Turbo family, new fine-tunable models, and the evolution of the initial GPT-3 models, further enabling customers like yourselves to push the boundaries of what is possible. So in the upcoming weeks, we'll do three things. Number one is introduce GPT 3.5 Turbo Instruct, the latest edition. And this model has been fine-tuned for instruction following and represents an evolution from the older text series 00X models, right? Number two is we'll offer a preview of fine-tuning for GPT 3.5 Turbo and GPT-4. And the number three is we'll launch previews of new versions of the ADA, Babbage, and Curie models for fine-tuning. So the older ADA, Babbage, and Curie fine-tunable models will be replaced by ADA 002, Babbage 002, and Curie 002. So this is a constantly evolving space, right? Finally, I think it is important to highlight that Microsoft runs on trust. But what does it really mean for customers? Customers are mainly concerned about, hey, where is my data? Or who can see my data? Who can use that data? So this data is stored encrypted in your subscription, and we'll go into more details. What happens to the fine tuning data that you upload for those scenarios where fine tuning is required? So that data is not used for anything else. It is only used for customer. That is your custom model training. It is not used for training the foundational models that MS builds, deploys, or even the ones that OpenAI builds and deploys. So there is a very clear demarcation here. It is customers' data. It will stay your data. Only will be used to train your models, and models will also only be used for that customer. In fact, these are some of the key differentiators, and based on these security guardrails, as we call it, some of the customers are also moving from OpenAI to Azure OpenAI. So number one is there is a VNet support, private endpoint support. It is the ability to deploy that behind private endpoint or service endpoint that ensures that nobody but the customer's application is able to access this endpoint. Number two is managed identity. It is enabled through Azure AD authentication and authorization, which is very similar to any other Azure cognitive service that you will use. Recommendation is not to use that because the same key gets proliferated and very easy to misuse that. So you also need to embed that in the code and etc. So it is generally not a good practice. We recommend that the service should be enabled with Azure AD authentication and authorization. Once you do that, your client application, which could be running on app service or VM or Azure function, you can attach a managed identity to that application and give access to that managed identity on Azure OpenAI service. So honestly, application would only need to be invoking the API for sending the prompt and generating the response. So using that managed identity, you can ensure that only Azure AD identities have access to that endpoint. And of course, it is the least privilege principle that is being followed. Next is the customer managed key. So if we take the scenario of fine tuning of the model where customer is uploading the data, that data can be encrypted using customer managed keys. And finally, as part of our commitment to responsible AI, we do have abuse detection monitoring built in. And for that purpose, everything that goes into the prompt and the completions that gets generated, that is logged in a storage account in the customer subscription. So whatever you view as the Azure OpenAI service boundary, it means customer subscription. It is not OpenAI boundary. So this storage account is encrypted with Microsoft managed key. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover on Azure OpenAI. Happy to take any questions on chat.
Awesome.
Over to you, Harish. Yeah.
Thank you, Sonam. That was like rapid fire. There was so much goodness in your content. It's incredible to see how limitless we can push the boundaries and still have everything be protected and within a guardrail and within the box in which customers typically want their data to be safe and secure. Thank you so much. Some fantastic examples there of the call center scenarios, or like how customers would want to like watch trends from like different sources and being able to apply that in their day-to-days. Thank you so much. I'm hoping that in the next segment we're gonna take all the goodness that you've just shared with us to see how this engine will help us create some really fantastic experiences within the Teams product, where if you start to use apps, how well Azure OpenAI can empower organizations. Satya, if you're on the call, take it away and show us what do you have in store for us today.
Thank you, Harish. Can you confirm if you're able to hear me loud and okay, and the screen is presenting?
Yeah, we can.
Awesome. Thank you all, and thank you for the wonderful presentation, Sonam. So like Harish just mentioned, we saw the goodness of Azure OpenAI. Now let's bring in a Teams flavor to it and see how you can have a team-centric interface to access all of those LLM capabilities, the wonderful LLM capabilities that you just saw. So we know AI has been delivering value for companies for years. Yet prior to the advent of generative AI, leveraging AI required special skills, and implementation of automation via bots have been limited by only static commands. Like if I ask the same thing in a different way to a bot or in a different language, even if the bot has been coded to understand that action, if it is asked in a slightly different way, there are many cases where the bot won't know what to do. Additionally, the bots had no knowledge of context, what the developer or what the user is trying to do. And the developer had to present basically code in every option, cover all possible use cases, cover all possible ways a user will potentially interact with the bot, which, as we all know, is simply not possible. You can't predict every single way a user will ask questions to a bot. Simply put, bots did not offer a natural language interface until now. There were no semantic understanding from intent to action. When I ask something, translating that into an action based on what I'm trying to get, that was not present in a very seamless way. All the interactions relied on hard-coded paths and the user reading through every option in an interface. You might have seen all the menu-driven option where everything is presented to the user, and the user will have to click on one to do what they want to do. That's the way that we all know so far, right? Even in this current example, the Teams bot that we used to have, we showed a static list of actions that the bot can do. And the user can select one of those as kind of like a command, a bot command, and ask the bot to do that. That's what we were doing so far until now. With Teams AI library, your applications can be updated to leverage natural language. User asks in their own words and terms. Large language models interpret these requests and find the best match from available capabilities. The developers do not need to know, complex AI skills, machine learning, advanced AI, LLM fine-tuning, all of this in order to build these LOB applications. Teams AI library is a very easy to use team-centric interface to GPT-based common language models and user intent engines. Please note that I'm not talking about just Azure OpenAI. Teams AI library is your interface for any GPT-based common language models. It essentially moderates the need for you to take on complex and expensive tasks of writing and maintaining the bot logic along with the LLM logic. It takes away all of those difficulties and lets you focus on just the LLM, the handling of the LLM and the intent action mapping. Let's probably see this how it works with an example, right? In this example, we have Amanda asking bot Contoso, hey, can you show all the open items assigned to me, right? And the bot recognizes Amanda is asking for all work items which have the status is equal to open and assigned person is equal to the user Amanda. So it's able to retrieve only those items and show it in a natural way, right in the context. Amanda can still continue to use the same conversation and ask, can you assign the bug item where compose breaks for 640 pixels to Kayomiwa? So the bot now understands, okay, so Amanda is talking about the previous work item that I had posted in the previous chat, and it is able to get the corresponding bug ID and even able to make the assignee changes right within the chat. So this particular line would not have been possible at all in a previous case unless you hard coded the way the user will have to type assign bug title, bug ID to user. So that flow used to be hard coded, but now it could be very, very much natural language. In addition to talking to the bot, Amanda can also do, updates on her own capability. She can open up a task module or a pop-up within Teams and update it herself if needed. So essentially, natural language gets weaved in the flow of work and allows Amanda to speak to the bot as if she would speak to any colleague of us. Right? Let me probably show this with the help of an example right away. Right? Like I basically have a bot over here that I just spun up for the purpose of this demo. This particular bot has been programmed to do two actions. It knows either to turn on the lights or turn off the lights. So I say, can you please turn lights on? Right? It only knows these two actions, and then it can do a pause. Basically, it can pause for some time, right? Like these are the three things that it essentially knows: turn on, turn off lights, and then pause for some time. Now, let's say something like it's too dark in here. Right? This particular command has not been programmed for the bot to understand at all, but it knows if it's too dark, then the bot has to turn the lights on. So it is able to turn the lights on, understanding that the intent is for the user to turn the lights on. Hey, it's too bright for me. Let me type this out, right? Hey, it's too bright for me. Now, the bot essentially translates whatever I'm trying to do here is it's too bright light for me, and then it automatically recognizes that it needs to turn lights off. This is a very simple example, right? What if we try to get a little bit more, complex with the bot? Say, I want to use this bot to handle some CRM actions, some sales scenario actions for me. So here in this case, I am reconfiguring the bot to understand not just lights on and lights off. I am asking it to understand things like you have to set up a customer call, you have to check a product info for me, you have to check a customer profile from CRM, you have to assign opportunity for me, create a sales report, all the usual things, right? So now the bot understands or is able to do these actions. Now let me ask something of the bot. Can you set up a call with customer ABC for a product breakthrough? Now I have not used or I have not coded anything for the bot to understand setup call or customer ABC. All of that is not hard coded in the way of the bot at all. It is able to correctly map this to this particular action, and it is able to call this function and set up a call with the customer, right? Let's try a different thing. I need some, let me even not use the same word. So I don't want to even use the same word as info. I need some details on product A, right? So it is able to know that this is basically checking some information on product A, and it is able to call the right function, checking product info, right? And it is able to call this function and do this work. And this is not just for English language. Like, let me probably like try this with English language and do this as can you please assign this particular customer account to delete? This usually happens, right? In any CRM account, you will have an customer account assigned to different employees. That's what is happening here. So here we assign an opportunity to delete. While we are doing this in English, this can very well work in other languages too. I just type the same thing in Hindi. Let's see what the bot does. So it not only recognized the intent that I had pasted to in Hindi to an English action, but replied the response in Hindi as well, right? Let's try a different one in Tamil. Yep, it's able to do this in Tamil and it's able to do this in Korean too. I'm assuming it's working in Korean too. I don't know. I can't read Korean, but I hope the folks, friends on our call would be able to validate. Imagine the level of effort this would have taken for you to do this localization independently for all the languages your customers are going to be using. Now, with just 2 minutes, I was able to have this bot recognize multiple different actions, not just in one language, but multiple different languages, right? This is the power of LLM and why we as Microsoft encourage developers with this one mantra. If an LLM can do something, do not write a code for the same thing, because your code is going to be a static code which will not evolve, which will not improve unless a developer improves. But if you use an LLM, the LLM is going to improve every single week, right? The LLM's capabilities are going to improve all the time. So now it knows 70 languages. A week later from now, it can understand 120 languages probably, right? So your app is going to become more and more intelligent if you use LLM to do an action. And that's why we strongly urge our customers to look at all your use cases in the eye of an AI and see how you can modernize that using this capability. Now, let's go back to our boring slides again, but I would just want to cover a few points that I think should really resonate with you for the Teams AI library. This just summarizes what I just showed you. Teams AI library for the developers, it gives a very team-centric interface, localization out of bots. It is very simple to use as well, and it covers all the responsible AI principles that Sonam just talked about. It is LLM agnostic. This point on LLM agnostic is important for you to understand. This can work not just with OpenAI or Azure OpenAI. You can bring in any GPT-based LLM, and that could work along with Teams AI library. So we give the power to you to determine which LLM you feel is right for your scenario, and bring it and connect it to the Teams AI library, and you can use it along with what I just showed. Right? For the users, of course, you have natural language. And there's definitely a consistency across different apps. If a user uses different 10 apps, or say 10 apps is a huge thing, say user uses 4 or 5 apps in the day-to-day, they don't need to learn the bot commands of every app. They can just say what they want in any language that they want. That consistency of working with the bot is achieved using Teams AI Library. From an opportunity perspective, this definitely greatly increases significant opportunity for updating your existing solutions, expanding their value to your organization, and enabling users to stay within the flow of work. The most important part is all your existing bots, messaging extensions can very well fit in with Teams AI Library. We have a lot of open source samples. Please do check that out. It can enable AI-powered workflows. Your users can use natural language. It lets you choose the most appropriate LLM. And most importantly, like Sonam mentioned, there is no IP leak to external LLM models. Why you should use Teams AI Library over on top of Azure OpenAI or any LLM? It brings all the capabilities that I mentioned over here out of bots. So you can apply moderation. You can check in what's going in and out of LLM and see if you want to moderate. Users can't share any sensitive information. Users can't ask something disturbing or violent. All those things you can moderate. It is very easy to map intent to an action. You can have your bot's conversation history readily sent to the LLM. If you do not use AI library, you will have to build all of this by yourself, managing the conversation history, managing the bot logic, all of this yourself. Whereas Teams AI library brings all of that to you out of bots. Uh, very quickly going over this, this is how the Teams AI library fits in within your bot logic. You have the end user asking Teams bot something. AI library is kind of sitting in between your bot and the LLM, and then it kind of like funnels information back and forth. That's how the AI library works. Lastly, I just wanted to conclude with saying that no doubt companies, you're reading about companies blocking their employees access to AI GPT in some cases. One of the top concerns we hear is risk of getting malware using public AI endpoints or exposing your IP to various AI engines. Uh, but this is a vast opportunity, right? This can you want your employees to use the new AI capabilities. So how can you let them do so while ensuring your company IP is not getting leaked? Uh, this Teams AI library and Azure OpenAI is your safe way to use and explore generative AI by using directly Azure OpenAI or Teams AI library. This lets your employees use and experiment with AI very safely and within the security and compliance settings of your own organization. Your IP remains your IP. And with that, I'll hand it over back to you, Harish. Unless you have any questions in the chat, I'll probably answer in the chat.
I just looked at the chat and there's tons of questions, and I think Sachin's really holding the fort. Thank you so much, Sachin, for answering a lot of those questions. Keep the questions coming on chat, but thank you, Satya. It's fantastic to see how we are pushing the boundary in bringing such phenomenal experiences very quickly inside of Teams, thanks to the Teams AI library. I think we have examples of folks who were able to build experiences within a week.
Yes.
Is that a safe number? Yeah, 7 days. Yeah, within 7 days. So that's the I suppose how high we raised the bar. And we want to now to Aarti on the call here. We want to show the art of possible, because we've heard customers, we've seen examples. We now we'll actually translate how the Teams AI library will look like in real life scenarios if you were to implement custom applications which are AI powered in your organization. Aarti, the floor is yours. Please take it away.
Hey, thank you, Harish. And just quick, confirmation that you are able to hear me clear and you can see my screen as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And thank you, Satya, for the wonderful, introduction onto the Teams AI library and what can be achieved with the power of AI and Teams AI library with a wonderful demo as well. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. In this section, we will be diving into an exciting use cases that demonstrates the power of AI in professional services. Right? I'm Aarti, and I'm thrilled to take you through the journey of Daniela, a tax consultant, and her AI infused experiences. Navigating the intricacies of tax consultancy can be quite demanding, especially when it comes to managing engagements, documents, and client interactions efficiently. Now, to overcome these challenges, Daniela harnesses the capability of Azure OpenAI, Teams AI library that we saw in our previous section as well, with the help of proactive bots as her assistant. Right? Now, let's see typically how Daniela works in day-to-day activities. Right? So Daniela begins her day by logging into a dashboard, that is a Teams app over here, and she notices that there is one tax return engagement pending and needs her assistance. With simple click, Daniela is taken to the bot experience over here. It's a personal bot, and the bot now has access to the engagement details, and because of which it can take an advantage of AI to bring all the information related to the engagements and create this or generate this email template. Now, this email template would have information about a comprehensive list of documents that customer or a client might need to help Daniela to file the tax consultant report, right? It also smartly recognizes that what are the different documents that needs to be provided, and also it provides the secure link for client to upload these documents, right? The bot now Daniela can use this information, see if everything looks correct, and she also has an ability to edit this before sending to the customer. Once she sees, once she sends this to the customer, the bot also goes an extra mile, offering to generate the required documents that Daniela might require to work on this engagement. Right? So whether it is Excel or PowerPoint, bot creates the files which are tailored for the engagement. Now, Daniela works with these documents seamlessly to create her engagement related documents. The bot keeps an eye on the client interaction as well. Now, Daniela receives the notification from a bot highlighting that the client did not provide the complete information. The bot assists Daniela by identifying missing information and suggesting to reach out to the customer to get the more information. Now let's take a moment to appreciate the benefits of AI infused app, right? Now in this scenario, what we have seen, the bot saves time and effort by automating these routine tasks and thus increasing the productivity. Customized interaction improves the client experience as well. Now in these scenarios, we have witnessed how AI through Teams AI library, Azure OpenAI transforms Daniela's professional life. Right? Now imagine having an AI assistant that handles administrative tasks and enhance the client interactions. Now let's see another demo or another example over here or a scenario from the enterprise search related. Now this is an AI powered enterprise search app which helps user to find the required information in order to perform their daily task. Now, in any organization we have seen, there is a lot of information that would be disposed. And let's see how AI can help us organize these information at one place and also help user to seek this required information keep seamlessly and quickly. Right? With that, let me just walk you through this demo here. And this is the sample example that we have built. So user starts its conversation by typing a query, looking for some information over here, asking about, what are the remote work policies or who can avail the remote work. Now, let's say if this information is not found, the application returns that text was not found. But no worries. Now, admins or the information keepers can update these or upload these information in terms of like knowledge base, etc., by simply clicking on the file upload options that we have from this bot. Because I'm admin, I have this ability to upload the file. Now, once we upload the file, so the document will be passed, the data will be taken, and using the embedding model, we are storing the data into the Azure Cognitive Search or the Vector DB behind the scene. And once user again tries to search for the document, now this time around, the app should be able to give us the response along with the accurate, consolidated, and actionable insight that you see that there are it provides the link of the sources as well to get more information about this application. Now, as you have seen, this app harnesses the AI to provide accurate, consolidated, and actionable insight. Use this use cases can be further refined or to have the relevant information also and actionable messages within this application. Now let's quickly see what are the high level components that went into creating this sample. So the knowledge repository that you have may be from the external system. Once admin uploads that knowledge base or article, the, the embedding endpoint would be used from the Azure OpenAI to store that embeddings into the vector DB or Azure Cognitive Searches. And once user asks for any information, so what happens is like again Azure OpenAI is used to get the similarity searches from the vector databases, and it uses the completion endpoint or the generative AI to get the summarized um, summary of that question in the summarized or the consolidated format. Yeah, I think with that I'll stop here to see if there are any questions. Otherwise, over to you, Harish, to take us to the next steps.
Yeah. No, thank you, Aarti. Thank you so much. Just give me one moment. Would love to share next steps, but I'm going to pause and say thanks for sharing those scenarios. Those are some enterprise search is such a good example of what organizations are looking for today. I was just skimming through some of the questions that were in chat in terms of can we not, we look through searching a document, right? We could be searching from multiple documents, we could be searching from links documents, we could be looking up for experts, like who do I talk to if I need answers for this. So it really depends on you defining the source for this information, you defining the source for this information, and also you defining what you are looking for really in terms of enterprise search. If you and we also saw before that the professional experience of somebody automating tasks, creating really quick actions all through natural language, conversing with their virtual assistant. That could be somebody who's in sales, so that could be somebody who's in legal or finance. And if you start to then imagine within your own organization, imagine having a virtual assistant like that, where somebody who's able to in simple natural language, you're able to fetch information and then complete tasks all on the go. You're saving yourself a lot of time to spend on far more complex activities. So the real question is, and of course I'll let Satya elaborate a little bit more here. The real question is, if you're interested in building such similar applications for your organization, we would love to do dedicated deep dive sessions to understand what your priority is or what your business goals are, and how then we will be able to recommend relevant technology and relevant stack to be able to guide your internal teams to build that. I've dropped a link in the chat. To just fill this form up, and then we should be able to get started on those discussions. But yeah, what would those discussions be, Satya, if you just want to elaborate a little bit over here? Satya,
Thank you, Harish. like Harish mentioned, if you are interested in building, applications with some of the use cases that we showed, or you have your own, good use cases, you would really like to know about it. So please do fill up the form, and so that we can help you along your journey. Speaking of journey, this is the typical, steps that you go through for building any custom app, any app in Teams, and with those apps integrated with AI as well. Uh, First, we will do a little bit of scenario discovery. This is where our team works with you to understand what your scenario looks like, what your use cases are, what your current solution needs are, what are your pain points, all of those requirements gathering and making sure we have a good scope of what we want to build. The next step is again working with the set of stakeholders within your team and within Microsoft, designers, architects, and so on. And if you have a partner that you'd want to work with, maybe partners to come up with a design and architecture of what the app will do, along with a little bit of good mock-ups to understand, put a tangible picture. So all of us can agree on what the app will do and how it will look like and how it will work like for different users. That's the solution envisioning that you see. It typically takes around like 2 to 3 weeks for this to get done. We have a very conservative timeline established over here on the slide. Uh, Once you have this design and architecture of where the different pieces inside the inside the solution fits in, and for example, this is the phase where you determine whether you want to use Azure OpenAI, which LLM model, and where the LLM model will be hosted. All of those decisions will be taken in the phase 2. The next we move on to the phase 3, right? Like once you have all of this set in paper, this is where our developers get to work, start building what we have in our spec and what we have in our architecture, right? So they actually build the code, do some initial testing, unit testing, and so on. Working with different stakeholders to make sure that the what is getting built is aligned to what the expectations were. And this typically takes for a Teams app around 2 months. And once we finish the build, we move to deploy and adoption. We typically recommend a pilot deployment for a small set of users to make sure that everything is working right. And then we recommend going for a production deployment, which is rolling out to all the users, the target users in your organization, and doing a comms plan, communications plan post that, so that everyone is aware of the app and also how to use the app. So this is a typical flow that we take, and the timelines that you see here on the slide are conservative, and it will definitely depend on what scenario you come up with, whether it is a very simple, straightforward one, or whether it has a lot of integration pieces and nuances to it.
Yeah, and I've dropped the link, and I will definitely share the link again in the meeting chat and post. But this program that Satya just walked through, there are slots available, so please fill up that form, and we will start reaching out to you. Based on how quickly you want to get started and what you're looking to achieve. Yeah, we'd be thrilled to help empower and help you build AI solutions for your organization. And thank you, Satya. Thank you for walking us through the program lifecycle. What we saw so far was, we set context with Azure OpenAI, and we were able to see how bringing that into Teams and wrapping that into the Teams AI library unlocks whole set of possibilities for us to be able to quickly create apps, on the go, modify them. RT was able to walk us through actual like scenarios of how day in the life of like a salesperson or anybody in an organization who's in need of enterprise search, hard problems that needs solution, because a lot of us spend a lot of time looking for information, whether it's people or just data or file and so on. If you and what we've seen is it how we can build such custom solutions for your organization. And I'm going to switch gears at this point to talk about such solutions that are already available within Teams and the Teams App Store, where our partners, guided by Baumik and his team, are partners who've gone on to use the same set of technology that we just spoke about, and they've actually created solutions that are available within Teams today. And we have actually this is the most exciting bit for me because we have showcases available.
Absolutely. So, hey everyone, it's my pleasure to be here on this forum. I work
with strategic ISVs, as Harish mentioned, to create Teams experience, including chat collaboration, meetings, and calls. As we know, Teams AI SDK is an accelerator to enterprise AI's vision. And to validate this hypothesis, what we have done is we have shared this SDK to early adopter ISVs to assure that we are setting users and product team up for the success. Also, and just to we explored what is the enterprise users needs, their wants, their expectations from generative AI in their enterprise context. And we have received really positive feedback from these pilot customers. So this is a very evolving space with a lot of uncertainties. But what I'm extremely happy to announce is the outcome that Teams AI SDK is fastest path to create generative AI experiences to users, because not only that it offers a broad framework that eliminates challenges that the ISVs have to create their conversational experiences, because they focus on their domain knowledge and domain applications instead of creating these conversational experiences. Also, Teams app is most secure way for enterprises to adopt generative AI, because it has all of the required moderation component embedded into Teams AI that saves a lot of cycles for them. So, with that context, it's my pleasure to invite Chandika to share how Creately uses generative AI, leveraging Teams AI SDK into their Teams app. So, over to you, Chandika. And as Chandika, feel free to share your screen as you come online. Just want to clearly make a demarcation that what we saw so far was we discussed in depth about creating custom solutions, using these technologies. But here's a solution that Chandika and his team have already created that's available within Teams for all of us. And Chandika, I'm waiting for you to wow us with what every week you guys build something new. So I'm curious to know what's in store for us today. Take it away, Chandika.
Yeah. Things are in active motion. Hi guys, my pleasure to be here. Very excited, and thanks Harish and Dominic. So let me just get started. So Creately has a great integration with Microsoft Teams. And for those who are new and who don't know about Creately, let me give you a very quick tour of how Creately helps teams to do great things. Creately is a collaborative platform to work visually. We help you go from idea to planning to running actual projects and capturing final knowledge right inside this team's environment. So first, inside Teams, Creately works great with meetings. It helps bring a hyper visual collaboration layer so that every person gets the opportunity to collaborate without any restrictions. Many domains use Creately as a central part of their workflow, from process mapping to product management to strategic planning. Everything can get done right inside Teams with Creately. So you could brainstorm things, you could run workshops, meetings, create plans, and execute actual projects in this visual space. And it's just not to the visuals. Everything is data and doc connected, and everything's real-time collaborative. So you can go from the big picture to the detail view very quickly with Creately. So if I was to define what it is, it's a combination of visual workspaces, whiteboards, custom databases, task management, multiplayer collaboration, wiki and notes, modeling and diagramming in this very easy to use platform. Inside Teams, it's in channels you have a central workspace for people to collaborate on. So you can pin things, pin a creative workspace inside a channel, so you could collaborate around that. And in a meeting, you could share Creately to the stage, just like you saw in that little quick video, and everyone gets a hand in working together, or even use it personally for visual collaboration. And you could run brainstorming, workshops and meetings, maps, processes, strategy and planning, technical design, and project management. All these things are generally done in Creately and right inside Teams. So the interesting bits, AI with Creately, and Microsoft Teams. So AI has been on Creatly's roadmap, and we've been working towards it. And to be quite frank, a couple of weeks ago, so we work with Balmy quite closely. they shared, let's, we would really like you to try this, the new AI Teams AI library and see what you guys can do, and sort of pushed our hand a bit. And so everything that you see has been, has been added on from the team side in a matter of couple of weeks actually. So things are in active development, but the way we approached is a little different, and I think that's what's interesting. So AI is for us is it's in context use of AI, getting the existing context and using AI to bring something different into it, and transforming text summaries to, so you have you can summarize and look at things as you saw with some of the demos, but how can you make it actionable? Like how can you go forward from it? And getting different perspectives of, so being visual helps you understand different things very, very quickly, and then it's essential in this modern hybrid sort of work environment. And for us, how do we look at different perspectives using AI very quickly was an interesting question. So I will jump into my demo now. Share my screen. So this is something that all of you might be familiar with. It's a Teams channel, and we are discussing a project actually to launch a CRM tool inside the organization, and a fair bit of development and planning that needs to happen. So a bunch of people have had a conversation here and about this topic. So now what would typically work is I would go in and sort of somebody who was not in the conversation coming in would be having to read this entire thing and understand what happened. But with the new AI capability, we might be able to summarize this a little bit. But what we thought would be interesting is to use Creately to look at it from different perspectives. So let's say generate me a business model canvas. Let's start with a SWOT diagram, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Diagram on this CRM implementation. And I ask Creately to do that. And takes a couple of, hopefully not too long. Come on. All right. Yes, I would say create a workspace. And I could open that straight away.
So Chandika, just to, while it's getting created, somebody who already has Creately installed in Teams,
Yes.
and they're just they stumbled upon a channel post. It's got a lot of things going on, and you're like, hey, can you just create a SWOT diagram for this, please, so that I just look at what I need to look at real quick and consume what's going to take probably many, many minutes.
Exactly. So strengths, weaknesses, implementation cost is weakness, opportunities and threats. These are all contextual information from that discussion, and and added information generated into a structured visual very easily. Let's look at a business model canvas, or maybe a UX, sort of from a developer perspective at Creately. Generate me a UX canvas for this project.
It's so cool because I think it's a twofold thing. I think one is consuming all this information, and then if you do work in teams that typically work on canvases where you like it to be visual, even after you consume it, you're going to take time creating those visuals. I feel like it's a two birds in one stone situation where it's summarizing and the visual is also ready for whoever else to pick up and run with, because you just double down on time.
Exactly. It's this as in this is a hard step for you to go from, and the cool thing here is, so now this is a lean UX canvas, right? If you look at, these are different perspectives on the same data. Business problem, difficulty in finding what the business problem is, right? Then the solution ideas, advanced search, guided onboarding, the business problem, as in that conversation particularly talks about, user problem, using experience problems in typical CRMs, and how do we overcome it? And it's bringing in the information and the questions and the answers for that context and filling it in here, right? And in each one, right? So it's not just the title. I think we could expand this to have pages of content as we go, and so how would somebody actually use this? You would come in and you could augment this with actual information that you put in, and I would add another sticky here, and bring in that information. It builds a canvas from different perspectives and gets you going really, really fast. So this is one aspect of our use. And the other thing is generally how we've seen teams like to use Creately is you would pin a workspace inside the canvas. So this is a shared space that you put everything that's happening in there into it. Let it load. Tab.
And is the AI experience available today, or is it almost?
No. Almost. So we're probably about a month away from GA.
Okay,
It's
nice.
It's available to few select pilot customers.
Okay.
It will be made available to.
But Creately, the app is available on Teams today. The AI experiences are coming out next month. Okay,
Yes.
nice.
And actually, in a couple of weeks, we'll be, so even now you can try Creately for free and start using it
Okay.
on through the marketplace. We are launching a completely free to use version as well in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
So this is a meeting canvas, lots of stuff there, agenda items, discussion points that you would want to have, and so on. And while I'm here, I'll show a few cool things. So you become quite familiar with typical whiteboarding apps. You double click and add add something, add a sticky note, that kind of thing. But on Creately, things are even a little bit more different. So we understand context. So this is a card of a task maybe. Let me just quickly color it so that it looks nice. And when you bring it to this Gantt chart timeline, it converts into a Gantt chart bar, and the dates work. So a great way to build product roadmaps, or so what we've tried to do is basically bring this whiteboard experience and make it real, right? So you take this same thing. Now I'm going to put that same thing here and put that on this 2x2, which is a prioritization matrix. We're trying to figure out what are the top priorities. It becomes a pin because that's what makes sense. And as
that is so intuitive. Nice.
And as I moved around, things change. Over here, effort. So if I make the effort 10 and the impact, so you jump here if you just saw that, effort 15, and so it's real data. This stuff you can take it out, put it in a different form, and so on. And what would be really cool is actually, so this is our Kanban board that we are working with, is for the content to go and get added here from this project. So as in for us, it's about how do you continue working with AI and run a project while having conversations in context. So so what I would say here is at Creately, please, let's be nice, add the action items to the Kanban board. and it's going to ask me whether I want to when it figures it out. Okay, so ask me what I want to do with it. Do I want to update the workspace or create a workspace? So because this is an active development, the build just broke the update workspace functionality, but I'll click on create one, and let's see. Okay, let me see, and it would go in, and so it summarized the conversation that we were having, and it should have gone and added it to that Kanban board.
Nice.
About what actions that you want to take in this project and its status. So I find this mind-blowing myself. So this is really cool. It's as you have another conversation and you say, update this in the Kanban board, and it'll go and get updated. And so there's continuity of work. That's what we have currently, and what we are now looking forward to build is a Copilot plugin, so that you can do this in a meeting as well. And we're very excited for the next stuff where in a meeting you'd be having a conversation, we'd be automatically putting stuff on the board that is shared to the common canvas. While you talk, no hands involved. Yeah, let me just jump back into my presentation and finish this really quickly.
Yeah, Chantika, we've got like a minute, so if you could tell us about how they can access and where they can find the app. I think what you've shown is awesome. So I think that's my first question. Like, how would I get started for all the folks listening?
Yeah, you can quickly go to search Creately on Teams Marketplace, and you can start using it straight away. We'll be adding the AI capabilities in September. So we're 2008 founded, 10 million people using the platform, thousands of people using it, companies using it, across domain product, and SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27001, and we have data residency options in US, EU, Australia, and other regions. So we are sovereignty problems, everything is solved, and government and enterprise ready. And we have real-time in-app support, and well integrated into the Microsoft Suite. Yeah, it's and we have this amazing plan for companies that are starting to use Creately, particularly mid-market. $1,000 a year for the entire company. That's for you to start adopting the platform. Yeah,
thank you.
I'll drop. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think, folks, if you have any questions about the application, Chantika, if you could just stay a little bit longer on the call to answer them and guide folks. But no, thank you so much. And feel free to, if people want to reach out to you, what's going to be the best email? Feel free to drop that as well in the meeting chat, and then people can start reaching out to you.
Drop an email.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much as always. And for our grand finale or our final presentation / segment, CT, thank you so much for joining us for the app showcase of Engage Rocket. I'm not going to take any more time. I'm going to give you the rest of the segment. So yes, bring us home here. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, thank you very much, and very good morning, turning into afternoon for all of us here on the call. I am gonna walk us through a little bit about Engage Rocket and what we've built in Microsoft Teams. It's something that we've been quite proud working with the Microsoft team, and we thank you very much for supporting us through the development of this application. We essentially went from conceptualization to MVP in a relatively short period of time. Just it was maybe 2 months that we managed to do that, and since then the team has been very supportive of us through this whole process. So it's my pleasure to walk you through what we built with the Microsoft team. So just very quickly, my name is CT or Chitong, and I'm the co-founder of Engage Rocket. We've been around since 2016, and we have served organizations from multiple different sectors, G2 reviews, customers love us, all that kind of stuff, but I won't dwell too much on this. I want to introduce, essentially to communicate what we have built, I want to introduce this person. So this person is Jane. So Jane is a busy manager. She's really spending a lot of her time rushing to meet her quarterly goals. She's jumping from meeting to meeting. She's got barely any time to look at her team's messages, let alone to meet up with her direct reports and to be able to hold one-on-ones with them, manage their performance, and so on. And we know, of course, because Jane's team is high performing, they could still benefit from more feedback and coaching. So, for example, you might find that the analysis on slide 8 was sloppy, or that particular release that it was made could have been a little bit tighter on the QA side. The project itself could have been a little bit more organized, or we need to communicate value more clearly. And these are all little things that, as a manager, as a people leader, Jane is expected to coach her team around, right? And many of you who manage teams may resonate with this. But she's got no time. So it's hard for her to take time out of the day to structure feedback well. Sometimes it's difficult even to be sensitive to the times that she does need to give feedback. And even worse, when it comes time to performance review, she has to waste 200 hours per year just to fill in all the different forms that comes in through HR. All of these different episodes that she felt like she needed to give feedback, she can't really remember them. And there's that element of a recency bias. So if Jane was my boss, if I had done a project spectacularly well in the month before my performance review, then the likelihood of me scoring well and getting a bonus is much higher than if I performed really well for the whole year, but kind of screwed up on that last project that she can remember. And the worst part about performance reviews is that study after study shows that it doesn't actually improve performance. You invest 200 hours per year per manager, and it turns out to be just one huge compliance exercise. So how do we help Jane? First, we look at the research overall. We know that employees in companies are 4 times more engaged when they receive meaningful feedback in the past week. So it needs to be frequent. The lesson behind this statistic is that coaching feedback needs to be given in the moment that's timely and relevant. Employees are 3.6 times more motivated to do outstanding work when their manager provides daily versus annual feedback. So this is something that weighs even more heavily on Jane. Like if she wanted to improve the performance on her team, she needs to find a way to give feedback to them in a meaningful way more regularly. So how do we help Jane to be a kick-ass boss? Number one, what we know is that 80% of employees, they prefer to get immediate feedback rather than to wait for the annual review. So we can help her do this and cut the time that she spends on performance reviews by 70% and remove that element of recency bias around the performance review process. And this is something that can be developed, something that you can download and use already. We're calling it Perform AI. It's one of the products within Engage Rocket's suite. And I'm going to do a quick demo of it right now. So all of this, one of the big insights that we got from user research was that one of the biggest issues around giving real-time feedback, whether it's peer-to-peer, manager-to-peer, or even upward feedback from from your direct report to your manager, the biggest area that's causing friction is that all of the feedback tools that exist today, they are outside the flow of work. So if I'm living within Microsoft Teams all day long, or Jira, whatever it is, I need to go out of my environment to create a piece of feedback within some other application that I have to remember the password for, or struggle and fiddle around with the SSO for, and then send it across to this person. And then if I want to see if there's any response or whatever else, I got to go back into that application just to process it. A lot of the integrations with Teams tend to be just reminders to exit the Teams environment and enter a different environment. So we decided that we needed to flip that switch and say that if feedback is so integral to working well, to performing well, we need that to be baked into the way people work, and baked into the flow of work. And so here, obviously, you find this is a familiar Teams interface. I can discuss with my boss what are the areas over the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year that I want to work on in terms of skills for myself. So these could be anything from communication to customer centricity to project management skills. And these then go into my file. So I can then, after any episode that I want to improve myself, I can ping somebody on the team or ping my boss and ask for feedback. So they would then be able to see what areas so they'll be able to select certain areas to give feedback on that are relevant to my development, because I've selected these areas specifically to improve my professional development. And within the team's environment, they can respond to the request very easily. Now here they'll see I've asked for feedback around business acumen and communications. The way all they need to do is, instead of sitting down thinking, oh my gosh, how did CT do in that particular meeting? They can just come here and click in, drag and drop some of these sliders. And if there are other relevant areas like stakeholder management, they can click that and give me feedback on that as well. So all they need to do is really just choose the feedback areas, drag the sliders to how well they thought I did on that, and then get AI to generate feedback for me. So based on my role, based on the particular context, and based on the feedback areas and the scores, the AI is then able to generate feedback that can then be edited before sending to me. So this is just an example output. You can get any sort of output, as you know, from the LLM. You can fine tune this and then give feedback to me via Teams. So this is great, obviously, that I get that feedback in near real time. The thing that I think has been super beneficial, not just to the individual, but also to the individual's managers, is that all of this feedback is now housed within the Teams environment. So at any point in time, if I want to go in and access the feedback that I've gotten, I can then come here and see exactly what people have said to me and about me at the different times of the year. And then, of course, here's some feedback. And what we're working on right now is to be able to work on the summarization of this feedback to be able to feed into the performance review process, so that managers no longer have to spend a lot of time figuring out who said what is it that CT is strongest at, how has he progressed along these development goals that he set for himself. And so that is, in a nutshell, what Perform AI is. The idea is really to allow anybody and everybody to give specific and relevant feedback in under a minute. So overcoming that writer's block, connecting feedback directly to skill development goals, and to be able to keep biased personality feedback out of the picture. Everyone is then made accountable for their own growth. You can see if there's been any improvement in the feedback that you've been getting around the dimensions that you've chosen. So you can feedback the world, you can give feedback to anybody. It powers coaching conversations to actually improve performance, and it matches with development plans to drive real learning. So obviously Jane loves Perform AI. That is pretty much what I wanted to share with you today. If any of you are interested in further applications of AI, particularly in the HR space, which is where we play, um, we put together a short email course. Feel free to download this for free. It's self-paced. And of course, if you go to the Team Store and search for Perform AI, you'll be able to download and use the current version entirely free with your teams. So I hope that has been interesting and helpful for all of you.
Hey, thank you so much. I really like the fact that there's the frequency involved. There's and as you mentioned, it's in the flow of your work, right? So right as something happens, you're not switching context. You're able to give feedback, right there. And of course, the whole thing happens async, and in terms of hybrid collaboration, it just makes things so much easier for, especially if you have larger teams, being able to do all of this. Um, yeah, Siti, if you can, if folks have questions, Siti, please stick around for like the last few minutes to be able to answer any questions that's either people can ask, or if it's on if it's on chat. And of course, feel free to, like, if people want to reach out to you, drop those emails. But thank you so much to both Creately and Engage Rocket. Very different approaches, very different ways in which both have used generative AI to solve for like different problems, which I think applies for a lot of us working in different organizations where whiteboarding or brainstorming, we all do that in different personas, and of course collecting feedback or giving feedback, both of which are very important. So I do want to thank both our partners for these showcases. To everybody else in the call, if you're interested in using these applications that you saw, both these applications are available on Teams. You can find them in the Teams App Store and start using them right away. If you need more information, you can reach out to us, or you can reach out to the partners. They will drop their emails to learn more and see if you can get this, if you're interested in getting this deployed for your organization. But I hope those two apps also serve as an inspiration in terms of what is possible with the Teams AI library. So beyond the demos and the walkthrough that Aarti showed in terms of like in an enterprise search, here's how generative AI is able to push to whiteboarding, or being able to give generate content in terms of giving feedback. So I hope this inspires you to think about where in your organization are you looking for an application, and tell us about it. We've already dropped the form. If not, we'll share the form again. Reach out to us, whether it's for the apps that you saw or for an app that you want to build. Reach out to us and we'll guide you. Satya shared the program that's available over between August and December, and we've got slots open now. So reach out to us and we'll start working with you. I do want to take a moment to thank Aarti and Satya from Microsoft Teams, Baumik as well from the Microsoft Teams ecosystem side, for putting this together. Sachin and Sonam, who are the data and AI specialists who've come from Azure as well. Thank you so much. If there are any last pending questions on chat, I think we can take a moment to answer them. If not, I think everyone's been a phenomenal audience. Thank you so much for sticking around with us. I think you might know our email addresses by now, so feel free to reach out to us on any topic